What is up, Light Fam? Welcome to another video. My name is David, your spiritual awakening coach, here to help you through your spiritual awakening. I've received so many messages from you guys experiencing the ascension symptoms that you guys are feeling out there. So the physical symptoms of ascension are typically feeling fatigued, feeling drained mentally as well as physically, and this constant sense of anxiousness. Well, what's going on? Are you losing your mind? You're not losing your mind, Light Fam. It's just a part of the ascension process known as the purge. Ooh, what the heck is that? Sounds painful. It can be, but it's all a part of the ascension process. So let's get into ascension symptoms, the purge, right now. Let's go. Ascension symptoms, the purge. So as the planet goes through a massive increase in light codes that are bombarding us right now, that's meant to raise the conscious awareness of the collective, our physical bodies have to get in alignment with our light bodies that are receiving this light influx. Now, I did do a video on ascension symptoms, light influx, which you can go watch right here for a more in-depth look on these light codes and the light influx, why it affects our physical bodies the way that they do. But what's really going on with these light codes? What are they really meant to do? Let's give a little less esoteric explanation than raise the conscious awareness of the collective. What's really going on? What are these light codes really doing? Well, they're shining light on what you fear, basically. That's what's going on. Remember, fear is in alignment with the ego. The ego is the veil that separates us from understanding our true essence as a fractal of source consciousness. And since the dominant frequency of source consciousness is love, these light codes are shining the light on where you are out of alignment with love. Ascension symptoms, the purge. Do you feel drained? Well, you feel drained because you're being asked to leave behind your old life, that old identity, the old version of you that was in alignment with some form of fear. Whether it's fear of being accepted and approved, fear of being able to live a life in abundance, fear of being able to trust yourself, fear of abandonment, fear of not being worthy of love or being worthy of a better life. You're being asked to move forward and trust the process, no matter how scary it may seem to you at the time. But don't worry, Light Fam, your higher self, the universe, source, they've got your back. And of course they know your real identity. Of course they know what potential lies within you. So they're going to practically force you to break those chains of fear, force you out of the nest, so to speak. But on the other side of fear is your greatest version. Ascension symptoms, the purge. So as the increased volume of light codes hit the planet at such a pivotal time, these light codes are bringing to light what you don't want to face. Maybe it's a job that you hate, or maybe it's a toxic relationship, but it's familiar and convenient, so you stay. Or maybe it's you playing it small so that you don't rock the boat, but yet your heart stays unfulfilled. So these light codes that are at an all-time high, they're meant to push the collective consciousness to let go of what is out of alignment with their hearts and authentic truths. So are you going to swim upstream, Light Fam, and ignore these ascension symptoms that are meant to upgrade the cells of your physical body and upgrade your timeline? Or are you going to hear the call of your heart and ascend to that timeline that is in alignment with the reason that you decided to incarnate in the first place? Ascension symptoms, the purge. So as you're going through the ascension process, the cells of your body are purging that old, denser version of you that is no longer serving you and is no longer needed on your higher timeline. This is a very draining process for the physical body because it's in a constant state of recalibrating to hold more light. This is also very taxing on your mental state because the ego starts to freak out, wondering what in the heck is going on. Remember, the ego is in charge of survival, especially the survival of its concept of identity. So if all of a sudden every fiber of your being is telling you to leave behind fear and limited belief systems, that threatens the old identity. The old identity is very familiar and comfortable with believing in scarcity, familiar and comfortable with believing that it needs outside validation and approval, familiar and comfortable with believing that it needs to be inauthentic to survive. But fear not, Light Fam, the universe knows better than your ego. And you will continue to get that increased light influx that is going to shine the light on where you are out of alignment with the path that does fulfill your heart. Maybe there is repressed trauma that you are holding. Trauma is out of alignment with love. And as we've said, the dominant frequency of source consciousness is love. So to get into greater alignment with source consciousness, you need to heal the trauma. So your higher self, the universe, source, they're going to keep bringing around the people that are a vibrational match to trigger your trauma. So maybe that's in the form of a twin flame. Maybe it's in the form of a narcissistic parent. Maybe it's in the form of an old friend that you've known your entire life. But that old friend knows the old version of you, the version that would go along with being judgmental, critical, negative, gossipy, people-pleasing. So the universe is going to use that old friend to trigger your shadow trauma so that you can heal it. But once you heal it, that old friend will no longer have someone to be negative, critical, and gossipy with, because you will have ascended to the higher timeline. Ascension symptoms, the purge. So as the light gets shined on the areas of your life that are out of alignment with your heart and your authentic truth, you will get anxiety. Here's what's going on. Anxiety comes from your mind being off in some future scenario. And since the ego's main agenda is control, if there is some future scenario that your ego believes that it can't control, you will get anxiety. The ego wants you to stay in that toxic relationship because the ego can't control who you're going to meet next. The ego wants you to stay in that dead-end job instead of starting that heart-led business because the ego can't control whether or not that heart-led business is going to be able to pay the bills. The ego doesn't want you to stand up to tyranny and fear-based control psyops because the ego can't control whether or not you'll be ostracized or be able to find other employment. But don't let the ego stop you from fulfilling the reason you decided to incarnate. And I can assure you that that reason is not in alignment with fear winning in the end. So like attracts like. When you step out of fear, you're stepping in alignment with freedom, love, authenticity, sovereignty. This is a universe of vibration. So the vibrational match of freedom, love, authenticity, and sovereignty will be brought into your life because that which was in alignment with fear has now been purged, and there is now space for what is in alignment with your heart. If you're experiencing the ascension symptoms of the purge, then don't fear losing what is no longer serving you. Remember, the light that shines on fear always has your highest good in mind. So trust the process, follow your heart, and then you will be set on the timeline that will allow you to live the reason that you decided to incarnate in the first place. Now, question of the day. What is something good the universe has made room for by purging what is no longer serving you? Ooh, cutting deep today, Light Fam. Let us know how the universe has leveled you up by cutting the dead weight in your life in the comments below. If you have a question for me, add me over on Instagram _Lightways. If you want to work one-on-one on your spiritual awakening journey, check the description below for that. We can work one-on-one for Zoom. Until next time, I will see all of you beautiful souls in the next video. Light, love, and abundance to all that are watching and to all you love. Peace, guys.